They should have larger brain, larger scalp. In order for them, they can do different things in their life. And as well, if you give them computer of nowadays, they will be able to use the computers.
Correct.
And then later on, they said, no, hold on a second. Not necessarily larger. It's actually the other way around.
It's happened many times.
So you see here, I'm talking about in 40 years, in less than 40 years, this been changed in 40 years. And I remember a documentary, I used to watch it in the past. They used to say, oh, our ancestors, they should have a larger brain. They should have larger scalp. They have this. And then later on, they said, no, hold on a second. Not necessarily the case. They should have a smaller brain because the things that they do is less than the things that we do now. So we evolved, our brain evolved and it become bigger compared to our bodies, for example, because of the things, what we do. And then they contradict with the gorilla. They have a larger brain compared to their bodies. And then you see these contradictions.
So when it comes to evolution, when it comes to one creature going to the next creature, for example, they say it was single cell, then it evolved into like fish, then it came onto land, then it became a mammal, then they became human. The process of evolution, it requires transformation of the DNA, right?
Genetic mutation.
Transformation of the DNA through radiation. But when radiation hits the DNA, it damages it. It doesn't produce new information. For a monkey to become a human, you need to change the DNA, right? You need to change the DNA of the monkey for it to become a human. So like when Hiroshima got bombed by the Americans, there was people that suffered from radiation sickness. But it didn't cause them to develop wings, it caused like them to have disformed fingers.
That's a good point.
Fingers to be disformed, disfigured. It didn't create new information within the DNA. It just swaps it around, it corrupts it and causes deformation of the body. It doesn't create new information to turn one creature to another creature.
Well, look,
By the way, the point is, Allah had the brother, he was talking about something, again, because that's the assumption about the evolvement, by the way, they say, because there must be under certain radiation and certain things made the DNA to develop in a way in order to make another creatures. That's what he was talking. And again, all of these things, again, we came to the point to say there are no scientific evidence affirming that we have a common ancestor between us and the apes. There is no scientific evidence.
you don't regard the fossils that we have.
Which fossils? Do you have a full one?
Well, you're making
in my possession? No.
Is there full one exist?
Well, I mean, I'd have to look up to be absolutely certain there isn't like a single rib missing from one of them. But the point.
No. It's actually the other way around. They have part of a jaw and part of a rib. They said that's it.
Some are more complete than others. Sometimes they'll say, well, we found like like a couple bones, and we think that therefore this might be a slightly different type of dinosaur, and so on.
By the way,
but there are
as well in the past, in the past, by the way, and they have done a research, by the way. One of the scientific magazine, by the way, it was led by one actually corrupt guy from England here. What he did, he went to chimpanzees, gorilla bones, they collected them together, burned them, do certain things, and what's his name? I forget his name.
Scientist?
One scientist here in England, and then he made the research. I think maybe Brian Covff. So what happened? Literally brought different bones together. They made one kind of skeleton, yeah, and then put them under pressure and burn, etc. Burn them, and then brought them. This is the ancestor, and then they did the research here and went through, and then later on, actually one of the people who literally tested the bones, and then they found actually this is not the truth. These bones are literally is not the ones which has to be. And literally a counter example, which already been established that this is the common ancestor between us and the apes, and then it went. So you see here, that's what happens generally in all media all the time. You will give like for example the other day, they'll give in the news, this is what happened. For example, given what's happened in Gaza, yeah, 40 babies being hidden by the Hamas or whatever, decapitated. And then after that, they say, oh, sorry, it was the wrong information. But already the damage being done. Already people, they took it. The same thing with the same example that happens. The people, they say, oh, this is what happened. This is the common ancestor. There is no first. Secondly, it doesn't mean if there are similarity in certain things in terms of the number of chromosomes and things like that, it doesn't mean that we're similar. You see the point?
It's identical.
Yeah.
But what I was saying earlier about how, if you're looking at, if you're judging the veracity a religion, let's say Islam, for instance, and you're looking at these various pieces of evidence in the world, what you have to ask yourself is not, oh, can I be absolutely 100% certain without any doubt whatsoever about this option?
Us as
What you
Muslims,
have
yes,
to-
we have 100%, 110%.
But what you
Beyond
what I
certainty,
have to do, let's just say, is to look at each piece of evidence and say which seems more likely in the light of this, which explanation seems more likely as an explanation, more convincing for this piece of evidence. A, that Islam in this case is divinely inspired, that is the truth that's sent from the creator of the universe,
Yes.
or that this is the product of human culture and history and development. And so
That's why we put it into a test, and then we'll see.
So when I look at the fact that there are all these fossils going back to Australopithecus and then through Habilis and Erectus and Neanderthals and
Which
so
is
on.
nonsense again, but we'll tell you.
And I think, well, which is more like A, that Allah creates the universe and sets off, all these events and is responsible for creating all the natural world, and creates the Quran to give to humans, and mentions all these various things, but chooses not to mention either in this book or in any revelation he gave previously. Chose not to reveal the fact that we're only one of several human species that have existed. That seems like a very important thing to mention, and he doesn't choose to mention that there's been all these billions of years and millions of years of evolution. He doesn't mention.
There are certain things mentioned in the Quran. No. I will tell you something. There is no point to mention because these are our assumptions. You are using your assumption, and you want God to talk about these assumptions. The problem is these assumptions, which you said, Habilis and these ones, those are assumptions. Do you understand what's the meaning of that? It is an assumption. Maybe 50 years down the line, all of these theories going to be demolished. It's not going to be there. They're going to be debunked, maybe in 50 years' time. Because it's theoretical science. It's not factual science, not fact. It's not based on facts. It's based on because again, when they found portion of bones here and there, this is not necessarily it is the creature that we think it's drawn in the mind of the people, and people they draw it and then they make someone who's a historian who has nothing to do with science to accept it and to believe this.
But again,
and you have nothing to do with science.
But it's not the same to say that something theoretically could be new evidence. That's not the same as saying, and therefore the evidence we do have isn't worth believing.
Might be the point.
So that's not the same thing as saying
because God is true. For us, God is true. It's not open to correction.
Right, but that is faith, exactly. That is
which
faith.
is you have.
No, but that's the difference between what you're saying. I feel
you've been a victim of scientism.
Yes.
I believe science has become a dogmatic belief, which has never been the case. It's a recent phenomenon. Let's respect what science can offer. Theoretical science, established science. Whatever is established science, we as Muslims have no problem to accept. Theoretical science, we have the right to say we don't need to believe. Why? Because you even made the admission is not uncertainty. So now you are imposing your probabilistic model into us. Now, secondly, you mentioned about where is the certainty of revelation. This is where the Shaykh, inshallah, he can provide you proofs that if Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final prophet, is the messenger of Allah, then based upon his testimony, everything that is mentioned in the Quran has to be true.
So this is so you were talking earlier about faith, and you were saying that I have faith. What we've reached
we have faith.
is the distinction. When you're saying that I have faith, this is the distinction. This is why I wasn't saying that I have faith, because faith is what you guys are saying. No, I'm absolutely certain.
Yeah.
Like, I do not believe that there could be possibly any evidence that would dispute. There is no evidence that I accept could be introduced that would refute my faith. That is the difference between what you are saying, what I'm saying, which is I follow the evidence. The evidence says at the moment this it is. I doubt that that new evidence will come in that will refute this, but it is at least theoretically possible. And if the evidence changes,
Can I just mention one thing? Sorry, Shaykh.
I will shift my belief based on the evidence. So that is the distinction.
The difference between thank you. The difference between you and us, your faith is based on probability. Our faith is based on certainty. Now, what you're doing is you're imposing your probabilistic model onto us, which is not fair. We're on a level of certainty, you're on a level of doubt, but yet on your level of doubt, you're imposing us to say, well, how come most likely? No, this is not fair.
And I will tell you.
Secondly, if we can provide to you legislative proofs that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final prophet, based upon his testimony, wherever the revelation he receives from Allah overrides any of your scientific preconceived notions.
So this
that make sense?
conversation. Yes, but this conversation began when we were I was asking a question about Islam, and you asked me, like, what is your religion? I said,
because this is the primary, primarily.
And so then you started, discussing with me the reasons why you thought I should become a believer. So this is me explaining why I don't have.
No, by the way, I didn't say to you should don't know. I didn't say. I never said this.
So
I never said this.
I'm not imposing. I'm giving the explanation for why I do not
but
have.
You're trying to. You're trying to cast your You're trying to cast your doubts onto us. But we as Muslims, we have the right to not believe in what you're saying.
I'm not trying to force my
And as well, the same thing. By the way, did I say to you, why don't you believe in Islam? At any statement.
Correct.
Did I say that to you?
No, not in those words.
Did I say to you, what you should believe in God? Did I say this to you?
No, but you're making arguments in favour of the existence.
I understand, but so I'm not imposing. So I'm saying.
I didn't say you were imposing upon me.
You just said now, just in a minute.
I said that I am not imposing on you.
Okay. Now let's think about. Let's go back to the point. For example, as I said to you, our evidence is based on what we believe. It's not just assumptions. It's not theories. It's not scientific theories. It's based on facts. So things that we know, we believe are facts. Yeah. Now, there are certain things. For example, and one of the proofs that about the existence of God, one of the proofs about the prophethood of Muhammad peace be upon him is the Quran. The Quran, which I advise you to read and to study it and to understand the Quran from Quranic perspective. And as well, one suggestion for you, go into the journey with someone. There is a philosopher, actually. He is a well-known, respected figure in America, mathematician, and he used to be the head of Atheist Society, by the way, in one of the universities. His name is Jeffrey Lang. Yeah, have you heard about him?
No.
My advice to you, just read about him, just to know his journey to Islam. Basically,